a very interesting city, which I pray that we shall be brought to a full understanding of. Because Assyria, as we know it, or Nineveh, as it becomes this city, is a re-manifestation, or it is a turning, that Nineveh in its originality is not Assyrian. What do I mean? I mean that Nineveh is an after creation. Nineveh is an after creation of the space of redemption. It is an after creation of the space of redemption. And so we have begun to teach in this nation that you come up with a Nineveh when you take the space of redemption and convert it into a destructive space. You take a space of redemption and convert it into a destructive space. So it means that you people have come here to hear God and to worship Him. If you had come here and we set you on course to indulgences, or we have put up manifestations of carnality and set spirits of oppression and consumption to consume you, though you had come here to enjoy God, what you end up with is a Nineveh in place of a redemptive space. So let's go back to that. How is a Nineveh created? A Nineveh is created when you take a space that was supposed to be a redemptive space, all right? You convert it into a destructive space. Or where a man should fetch life, they encounter death. In any instance in the history of redemption where men encountered death in the pursuit of life, that space, that city, whatever it is, could be termed as Nineveh. You understand me? So Nineveh is Assyrian. Nineveh is Assyrian. And the Assyrian kingdom is the kingdom in the realms of the heavens that is in charge of manipulating spiritual systems. Nineveh, in the realms of the spirit, is a kingdom that is in charge of manipulating spiritual systems, chiefly accomplished through the workings of witchcraft. Chiefly accomplished through the workings of witchcraft. And that's what you get to see in chapter 3 from verse 1 to 6. You see an indulgence into witchcraft that fortified and galvanized the claim of Assyria and the claim of Nineveh. So Nineveh is a very interesting city. I do not have time to go to the book of Jonah and begin, showing you the spiritual stature of the city of Nineveh, because Nineveh has created a ship to take the good tidings away from it, and that ship leadeth unto Tarshish. All right? Nineveh is a city that has purchased the waters or the sea, and that is why if you step into the waters, there's a beast that is mushroomed, or rather, pardon me, a city that is reared. Let's use that word. A city that is reared, or a beast in the waters that is reared by who? The king of Nineveh, right? That is chapter 2, the one that swallowed Jonah. In chapter 3, now you have a description of the main entities of Nineveh, and they have consolidated all the spiritual entities of Nineveh into two, which is man and beast, the ones that fasted, right? They fasted for 3 days, who? And 3 nights, who were fasting? It was man and beast. So in the space of Nineveh, you only have two spiritual entities, man and beast. Man serves beast, and beast is lord over man. Man serves beast, and beast is lord over man. So when you begin to encounter the entities of Nineveh, you don't handle men, you handle who? Beasts, all right? In the form of men. You handle beasts in the form of men. And that is the essence of what witchcraft is, right? And that is why, because of how Nineveh went into lens in its bid to purchase all the heavenly places of the realms of the earth, that is why God manifested the 4 beasts. Bwana Sesana. He gave us the revelation of the 4 beasts, because in the space of Nineveh, you'd find beasts and men, And the men you find are vessels of beasts. Beasts are lords over men, and a man is not who they appear. They are utilities, they are instrumentalities of the beastship system. So you come to chapter 4, and in chapter 4, that is where we begin, because we begin to see the pattern that we would want to cast abroad this evening briefly, and begin to say this, that as soon as Jonah has preached, the Bible says that he was displeased, right? Because God had decided to pardon the iniquity of Nineveh, you recall? And he moved outside the city and sat somewhere under a god, right? There was a booth there that was supposed to give him shade, and he sat there and he began lamenting. I knew you are gracious that you would forgive these people. You know that part of the story. So in any space, listen to me, in any space that is supposed to contend, in any space that is supposed to contend with witchcrafts, the mother of harlots, all right, and the abominations of the earth, this particular space that's supposed to be contentious with these strongholds has this form of pattern. And I want to suggest that as we begin our labors of saving all nations within Kenya, right? How many nations are there? 47. How many tribes be? 42 or 43, all right? The 42 nations that become the nation of Kenya. And of course, plus one because of the nation that keepeth truth, right? Which is you and I, the nation of covenant faith. So as we begin working within this nation, we must begin to picture this particular pattern. Let us picture this particular pattern. And what is the pattern? The pattern is that there is a city that is a conversion. A city that is a conversion. Where men ought to be encountering life, they are encountering death. Where they ought to be encountering liberties, they are encountering enslavements, right? Where they ought to be stepping into the God dimensions, they are stepping into satanic manipulations. And then aside from that, you have a control point. So you have the main city, and then you have a control point. So there is where the king of Nineveh is, and there is where Jonah is seated. There is where the city is, and there is where Jonah is. Are you understanding me? That is a pattern. So when we begin to look at a city like this, these are some of the realities that we begin to face. Because I told you that these lands of Upper Hill, Kilimani, and what have you, had been given over to the church. They belong to the church actually, in the realms of the spirit. But in the realms of the earth, things are different, right? There's a term used there, but because my teaching is a bit solemn tonight, let me not use it. But the situation is a bit different. And where you have this structure that is called the integrity center, that is where you are supposed to have the altar that is determining the spiritual atmospheres of the city. So that particular building, right, whatever its name is a replacement of an altar that was supposed to control the atmospheric entities that run, right, the spirituality of the city, right? So are you getting the point? You have a place where you're standing, and then you have the rest of the city. You have where Jonah is, under his booth and under his guards, wherever that word is, and then you have the rest of the city where man and beast be found. So it means that this city that is called the church, because it is a city such as the New Jerusalem, this city that is called the church, it can be captured. And when its entities are changed, the city of the church can be captured. New Jerusalem can be captured. And when its entities are changed, its functionality is also shifted, all right? So that men that are supposed to be rejoicing in life begin to rejoice in a death. So that is what you now begin to find out when you begin to deal with Nineveh. So, who restores what the enemy has stolen?